This video is about mindful communication. We will be discussing how we communicate with ourselves as well as each other, and how that makes for better relationships with ourselves and each other. So my name's Carrie. Hi and welcome to my channel here at Mind and Body Balance. Thank you for joining me. So communication is about expressing, isn't it? Expressing yourself, but also hearing somebody else as well. But most of the time we communicate, we just take turns in talking. Do you feel that? I know I do. I know I'm one for forgetting things, so as soon as something comes in my head, I quite often interrupt people. And I'm getting more mindful of me doing that now. So that's the first thing, to get more mindful of when you're doing such a thing. And then it's just taking that pause every time you want to. And so what if you forget that thought, that train of thought that you wanted to reply to that person, or not even reply, maybe they weren't even asking for anything, and that's the key, that's the issue. So you just it doesn't matter, does it? Because if that's important, it will come back to you. But what's important is actually paying attention to that other person. But it's also important to pay attention to ourselves as well. So we're going to talk about that in a bit more detail now. So one thing I thought of when I came to writing this was back to the mantra that the Buddhists use, is Om Ah Hum. Om is body, Ah is speech, and Hum is mind. I'd have to double check just to make sure I've got the right ones the right way around. Yeah, so Om, Ah, Hum. Body, speech, mind. So the body is how we act, how we listen, and our body language. So that's something to think about as well as we communicate with each other. Speech is obviously the words that come out, how we express our thoughts. And then think, so it's almost like it's gone backwards, hasn't it? Body, speech and mind, rather than mind, speech, body. But I'm sure that's the right way. I'm sure someone will tell me if it's not. So yeah, the mind thinks first, then it's expressed with speech and or how we act. So we'll talk about speech first then. And there's a little meme that I've taken here which says, before you think, now it spells the acronym THINK. Is it true? Is it helpful? Is it inspiring? Is it necessary? And is it kind? Think. True, helpful, inspiring, necessary and kind. I have come across one that just had three. I think it was true, necessary and kind. I think it was those three. The 5 are great, 3's great, any's great as long as you can remember them and try and put them into practice. So before you speak, think, is it true, helpful, inspiring, kind and necessary and kind, wrong way around. And that's quite a good tip, a good little exercise to do. Even if you can only think of one of those. Is it kind, what I'm about to say? Is it helpful to that other person, what I'm about to say? Is it true? And if it's none of those things, then why are we saying it? And that's what we have to have the pause for. The pause to remember to think, is it kind, is it necessary, is it true, is it helpful? Or the pause to think, am I going to say this or not? So that not everything we think, so there's a filter, isn't there? Not everything we think needs to be expressed. Or if it is, in what way? So there's your tone of voice, isn't there? The tone, the volume, the words you use. Are they harsh? Are they loud? Are they abrupt? Are they angry? You know, when we're mindful, and I've noticed this, when we're mindful, if we're about to say something hurtful to somebody, or ourselves, by the way, when we're about to say something that's not kind, or we're in an angry state, so we're going to express that to that person, we often feel it first. It might be very quick, but we'll feel it and then say it. But it's very, very quick, especially with anger. Anger is such a quick emotion that as soon as we feel it, we speak it, and it's already out there and we can't take it back. And we regret it. And then we're apologising, and then can the other person unhear it? It's up to them. So by being mindful, we can choose what we're going to say, how we're going to say it, and how we're going to express it. So you can see this takes time, because we don't often do this. We're often very reactive, very quick. As soon as someone said something, we've got to quickly respond. It's another exercise to check out for yourself, really. Can you sit in silence? Or a little bit longer stretches of silence when you're talking with someone? Does it have to be word after word after word after word, you then me, then you then me? Just think about that and just try it out and just see, you know. Can someone just say something to you and you listen? And like I said yourself as well. So the way we speak to ourselves is so important. Is it condescending? Is it derogatory? Is it harsh? Is it a bullying sort of fashion? Would you speak the way you speak to yourself, the way you speak to a friend? Are you your inner critic, or are you your inner friend? So with communication within ourselves, we can start learning to change that. And I have done this myself. I have started to talk a lot better to myself. Definitely. I just try and think now that if I've said it, that's a bit harsh. I think because I don't do it so often now, that when I do it, I think, that was a bit harsh. So it's just bringing that word kindness. I think that's a good one to start with if you're just going to start with one word when we're thinking about this. So if you can think, am I speaking kind to myself and others? And if it's something you've got to address that you might not deem as being kind, then you can look at the other kinds of communication, can't you? Your volume, your tone, the words that you're going to say. It doesn't have to be harsh and abrupt. You can still say those words, but you can do it in a kind way. Another meme here about that is, it's one thing to hear what someone is telling you. It's another to listen to what someone has said. So to really hear someone and really listen. I see you, I hear you. And then moving on to listening then. So are you just hearing the other person, or are you listening? Again, this comes back to ourselves as well. So are you hearing what's going on inside you? Or are you pushing it away? Are you maybe using some forms of addictions to push it down? If your body's screaming out, I need rest, I'm too overworked, I need to rest. You know, quite often before we come down with colds and things, we get little indicators brewing that maybe just tell us we need to rest. Do we pay attention to that? Do we hear that? So our body can speak to us. And when we're mindful, we can pay attention to that. Often we can hear that and notice that in meditation itself. So are you just hearing the other person, or are you listening? Are you using your body language to engage? So that's another thing as well, isn't it? To actually be looking at somebody, engaging, not be looking past the person, not be doing something else, being on our phones. Is your attention solely on the other person? The words being said, the words not being said, the tone, the volume, the emotion that the words carry. So that's really a pivotal one, isn't it? I mean, how many times do we say to people, I mean, my term to greet someone is, "Hi, are you all right?" And it rolls in, "Hi, are you all right?" And they don't really have anything to say, but "Yeah, are you?" You know, or whatever your greeting is. "Hi, how are you?" "Hi, are you well?" You know, when it's a fleeting comment like that, a lot of people will just respond with yes, whether or not they are. And I've tried this a couple of times with friends that I know aren't going through a good time, and I'll say, "How are you?" And they'll say, "Yeah, fine." And you just know it's not in the words. It's not in the words. It's in their energy. It's in their tone. It's in their persona that you just know they're not. So I've actually turned around and asked again, "No, are you all right?" And see what they say. "Well, I feel a bit tired. I feel a bit this. I feel a bit that. I'm aching today. Today's not a good day," and that's all right. Let's not be fixers for other people. Let's be open enough to allow other people to be open enough and be vulnerable, to allow that communication to just be real and authentic. It's all right that you're not all right. It's all right that I'm not all right. You might want to express that. You might want to talk about it. You might not. But just be mindful is if you're not wanting to express it or talk about it, are you at least hearing it yourself, so you're not pushing it down completely? It's all right to not always talk about it. It's good to talk. It's good to get things out with your close friends and family that you feel like open to, or maybe you do go to some talk therapy, counselling or something like that. But if you're not doing any of those things, or you just don't want to right then, and you feel it, then come back to it and sit with it and hear yourself. Because it's all right not to be all right. And that's the voice that we need to give ourselves a bit more. It's all right not to be all right. It's all right to go to bed early. It's all right not to go out to that party. Yeah? And when we can do that, when we are more open, when we're really listening to people and they're really hearing us too, then we've got this real open communication, haven't we? It's not restricted in any way. It's not resistance. You don't feel bothersome by talking to someone, or they haven't got time for me, or I better not talk to them. That's how we often feel nowadays, isn't it, with a lot of people? It's like, oh, I won't bother them. But when we're open, other people are open, we've got this really good communication going where we're solely being mindful into what that other person's saying and what you're hearing, and just allowing. And like this says, I'll read it again. Is your attention solely on the other person? The words being said, the words not being said, the tone, the volume, the emotion that the words carry. So I invite you to try it next time you're with your girlfriends, your friends, your boyfriends, whatever. And your family, just be a space for them. And if they're not a space for you, be all right with that too. If you want to offload onto somebody and they're not willing or ready, you could have a precursor to it. You could say, I want to talk to you about something. Can I have your attention? So for people not on this journey that are trying to do this anyway, you know, the people that are on the phones, the people that are watching telly, the people that give you half an ear as the washing up or whatever it is, then you might have to spell it out for them. You might have to say, I just want to talk to you about something, or just want to chat. Can I have your attention? But for us doing the work, we can do that anyway, can't we? So when someone talks to us, we can give them our attention. Or if not, just say, I want to hear you. I want to be here for you. Can you just give me 5 minutes while I finish this up? And then I'm there for you. And that's the way we can talk to our children as well, isn't it? Mummy, 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 when you're on the phone or you're talking to your friend. That happens a lot. And then we snap, don't we? And we're not kind. And we're like, I'm talking. We snap. So it's a way to be mindful there, isn't it? You just say, oh, I heard you. I'm just talking to so-and-so right now. Can I come back to you in 5 minutes? Is that okay? Can I come back to you? They might not, depending on how big they are, they might not know sense of time. So, you know, can I come back to you in a little minute when I've spoken to so-and-so? So they're just a few little pointers to think about when it comes to communication. And there's this has come, I've taken this from the Brené Brown animation. I don't know what she titled it now. Definitely check it out on YouTube. Brené Brown animation, I think it'll come up. It basically, these points were taken from one of her TED Talks and made into an animation. And it's really good. It really hits home. It really drives it into the difference between sympathy and empathy. So the main points from it is that sympathy drives connection. Sympathy drives connection, where empathy fuels connection. So sympathy tries to silver line things. Look on the bright side, at least this. In difficult times we try to make things better. Rarely a response makes something better. Yeah, so that thing about not really listening, giving someone advice that they don't really want it. At least this happens. Not letting you be with whatever it is you're talking to them about. Like, you know, if you're giving someone a problem, you know that you're going to be all right and you're going to get out of it, but you just want someone to hear you and let them offload, let you offload onto them. That's all you want. You don't want them to get, you know what you're going to do. Unless you specifically don't, and you can ask them physically, I'm asking for help here. But generally speaking, we know what we're going to do, but we just want to share that we're going through a hard time. But on the receiving end, we find it difficult to allow someone to be suffering because we don't like suffering. And what we do with mindfulness is we allow that to be there. The thing is, we just don't stay there. That's the difference. So when you go to someone with a problem, or someone comes to you with a problem, just hear them. Just let them talk. And if there's silence, there's silence. Empathy fuels connection. The perspective taking of others. So you're taking someone else's perspective on their situation. Staying out of judgment. So whatever it is they're saying or doing, allow that. Recognising emotion in others and communicating that emotion. So someone might flip it, oh yeah, I'm all right, but this happened and this happened and this happened and this happened and then this and then this and then this. So you might, again, they might be just skirting over the top of it, mightn't they? And not really allowing it. So you might just try and you're not doing a counselling session with them, but you might want to just say to them, just to bring them down a little bit into what they're feeling, and just say, oh, it sounds like you're a bit stressed out. It sounds like you're a bit worn out there. Are you all right? And it might make them think, well, actually, yeah, I am. You know? And just make them think about what they're going on instead of masking it by doing, and just letting them be. Bring them back to being mode. Don't have to fix it. It's not your problem to fix. Allow them to be with what is. And you hold space for it. That's what communication is. That's what mindful communication is. Feeling with people. What can make things better is connection. Yeah. So, I think that's about it. So the question is, could our relationships be better if we communicated more mindfully? What do you think? We admit we live busy lives. We admit we're rushing around all the time. We admit we need to stop more. Well, let's stop more. Let's listen. Like when you talk about the regrets of the dying, and they say, I wish I'd worked less and been at home more. I wish I'd, people that have had divorces and things like that, and at the end of the day, I wish I hadn't. I wish I'd listened. I wish I'd paid attention more. I wish I'd heard my wife, my husband. Every part of our life brings some form of challenge and difficulty and strife. But we can get through that better if we really hear and communicate with other people, to really share that experience, the unpleasant and the pleasant. And that's a shared life. And that's when you look back at your days and think, yeah, we did it, and we did it together. So I just want to finish off with a little poem. Oh, I'll say it's a poem. It's called Listen, and it's from Ralph Rawton, who's a psychotherapist, counsellor and mindset facilitator, so you can check him out. So if you want to close your eyes, take a deep breath and out. Listen. When I ask you to listen to me and you start giving me advice, you have not done what I have asked. When I ask you to listen to me and you begin to tell me why I shouldn't feel that way, you are trampling on my feelings. When I ask you to listen to me and you feel that you have to do something to solve my problems, you have failed me, strange as that may seem. Listen. All I asked was that you listen, not to talk or do, just hear me. I can do for myself. I am not helpless, maybe discouraged and faltering, but not helpless. When you do something for me that I can and need to do for myself, you contribute to my fear and weaknesses. When you accept as a simple fact that I feel what I feel, no matter how irrational, then I quit trying to convince you and get down to the business of understanding what is behind that irrational feeling. And when that is clear, the answers are obvious and I don't need advice. Irrational feelings make sense when we understand what's behind them. So please listen and just hear me. And if you want to talk, wait a minute for your turn and I will listen to you. You can open your eyes if you have them closed. Yeah, so I think that says it all really. Listen to yourself, communicate well with yourself and others, and do it mindfully as best we can. Be kind to yourself, be kind to others. That's it really. Here's to more mindful communication. Thank you so much for joining me. It's been lovely, and I will see you again next time. Much love.